Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. National Diversity Ministry to host a ceremonial parade and national extravaganza for Republic Day. A 2-year ban placed on all hunting activities starting October 1st, 2013. And the Savanetta boys fall to Panama's Arabe Unido in CONCACAF Champions League. Thank you for joining us. The National Diversity Ministry will host a ceremonial youth organization parade and national extravaganza for Republic Day. Line Minister Roger Samuel made the announcement during the post-cabinet media briefing and says participants will encompass a wide cross-section of youths from the Cadet Force and Scouts along with other youth groups.
Ahead of Republic Day observances this year, a national extravaganza involving the youths of Trinidad and Tobago has been planned. National Diversity Minister Roger Samuel revealed the celebrations during this week's post-cabinet media briefing.
On the 22nd of September, beginning at 10 a.m., all of the youth organizations in Trinidad and Tobago, the uniform youth organizations that have been so integral in all of the youth programs and developments of our youth in Trinidad and Tobago, will join with the Ministry of National Diversity and Social Integration, along with the Ministry of National Security, through the Trinidad and Tobago Cadet Force, to be part of this celebration of Republic Day in Trinidad and Tobago.
Participants are expected to comprise those from the Cadets, Boy Scouts, Cubs, Rangers, Brownies, Red Cross and the Police Youth Club. The day has been described as an opportunity to foster national pride among young people while educating them of the importance republicanism has to our society.
Many of the other unnamed organizations will join with us from Independence Square on the Branagh Promenade from 10 a.m. and journey through a route that will lead us to the Jean Pierre Complex, where we will then host a national extravaganza with some of the leading personnel in our art and culture industry. Names that are familiar like David Rodder and Kess and the band, and all of these groups will be there to be part of this extravaganza among our young people and with our young people to heighten the understanding of what republicanism meant and means to all of us in Trinidad and Tobago.
Minister Samuel urged families to come out in their numbers and support the event.
We are urging the national public to be part of this extravaganza and come out on the 22nd and give support to our youth uniformed organizations as they embark to celebrate with us our Republic Day celebrations that will heighten the celebrations for 2013. So we encourage all and sundry to be part of this wonderful extravaganza for our young people on the 22nd.
Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
A 2-year ban has been placed on all hunting activities while heavy fines for those caught in the act have been introduced. The move was revealed during this week's post-cabinet media briefing by Minister of Water Resources and the Environment, the Honourable Ganga Singh.
Avid hunters will have to put away their guns for the next 2 years as a 2-year ban on hunting will come into effect on October 1st. The aim is to replenish the population of some of Trinidad and Tobago's indigenous wildlife which are near extinction. Water Resources and Environment Minister Ganga Singh made the announcement during the weekly post-cabinet media briefing.
A 2-year moratorium will be placed on hunting in Trinidad and Tobago, with effect from the 2013-2014 hunting season, which is scheduled to commence on October 1st, 2013. We must do the right thing. We are doing the right thing by the series of measures that we have outlined. Let me assure all citizens that these decisions are in the national interest and will certainly aid in the conservation of our wildlife resources for future generations. We are protecting the wildlife for future generations.
The ban follows consultations on wildlife policy which were conducted earlier this year. The consultations led to a moratorium being put in place. Research shows that more than 60,000 gaming licenses have been distributed within the past 3 years. In 2010 to 2011, 22,465 game licenses were sold, while in 2011 to 2012, a total of 18,990 were distributed, and in 2012 to 2013, some 21,236 to date have been issued. Minister Ganga Singh notes that because of this, the Trinidad and Tobago red bucket deer has become extinct, and that conservation efforts must take precedent if future generations are to appreciate our wildlife.
The current Conservation of Wildlife Act, which replaced earlier legislation for the protection of wild bird and ground game, enables the protection and conservation of fauna, mammals, birds, and reptiles, and through the regulation of hunting by a system of permits, closed seasons, and game sanctuaries. The Act prescribes a closed hunting season, which outlaws the taking, sale, purchase, and possession of wild meat during that season. As of the 1990 hunting season, state game licenses issued under the Conservation of Wildlife Act were amended to include a mandatory hunter return data form, which must be completed and returned in order for the licensee to be considered for the issue of a state game license in the future.
Population of animals commonly killed for games such as agouti, lap, deer, tattoo, alligators, and waterfowls are said to be nearing depletion numbers. The minister says controlling the slaughter of these animals can possibly be curbed through the increase in penalties imposed.
Cabinet has agreed to the increase in fines to be more deterrent to the abuse of our wildlife population. Some of these fine increases include the following. 1. The fine for hunting of any animal in a game sanctuary has increased from 1,000 or 3 months imprisonment to 100,000 or 12 months imprisonment. Secondly, the fine for taking a dog into a game sanctuary for the purpose of hunting has been raised from $1,000 or 3 months imprisonment to $100,000 or 12 months imprisonment. Thirdly, the fine for hunting a protected animal without a special game license from the chief game warden has been raised from $1,000 or 3 months imprisonment to $50,000 for each animal.
Law enforcement agencies working with the Forestry Division are expected to impose these measures when necessary. However, as wild meat is seen as part of this country's culture, Minister Singh says collaborative efforts with the Food Production Ministry for the rearing of these animals for commercial purposes are being looked at.
In addition, the ministry will be collaborating with the Zoological Society of Trinidad and Tobago, the University of the West Indies, and the Ministry of Food Production to undertake initiatives to develop model commercial wildlife farms and to provide capacity building support to encourage rural communities to establish wildlife farms in order to ensure that their livelihoods are not negatively impacted during the proposed 2-year moratorium on hunting. The possibility of the provision of financial support from the Green Fund to establish wildlife farms is also being explored.
Minister Singh says during the 2-year ban on hunting, surveys will be conducted on the animal populations to monitor their numbers. Gregory McBurney, News 4.
When we come back, opportunities for returning scholars. Stay with us. The Ministry of Public Administration is ensuring the opportunities for returning scholars are endless as it hosted a program that will give scholars the right tools to find and keep jobs.
A 2-day 2013 Returning National Scholar Symposium was launched at the Hyatt Regency Trinidad on Wednesday. The event was facilitated by the Scholarship and Advanced Training Division of the Ministry of Public Administration. The symposium is meant to serve as the stepping stone for the returning government scholarship awardees and focuses on job hunting and retaining jobs by ensuring that the scholars can market themselves properly and exist within a professional environment.
You will be exposed over this today and tomorrow to the expectations of employers, how to shine at interviews, how to make your CV stand out, and how to behave and deal with life as a professional. Remember, what distinguishes a professional is that you are your profession, and that the life of a professional is a 24/7 occupation. A doctor is always a doctor, even though he or she is not in the office or the hospital. You can leave the office and head to Smokey and Bunty for a drink, but you are still a doctor.
Minister of Public Administration, the Honourable Caroline Sipasad Bechan, also shared similar sentiments and prepared the scholars for possible issues that may confront them along their journey.
Today, you are returning scholars. Tomorrow, you will be employed. If we had our way, this would be a reality. You would all have jobs in your professional areas, and you will all have meaningful work and opportunities for professional development and advancement. Whatever happens, you will have guaranteed employment for at least a year, but the fact that you may not be employed in the field in which you graduated, an area of study deemed relevant, necessary, and essential to the sustainable development of our country, is an imbalance that we are working hard to resolve.
The Honourable Minister noted that statistics show that 43% of returning scholars eventually find permanent places in the public service of Trinidad and Tobago. She said that this is something that her ministry and the government by extension has been encouraging, and noted that the scholars were returning at a time when the public sector was undertaking a transformation to a diamond standard in service excellence.
Those of you who join the public service will be part of an exciting process of renewal that will produce greater opportunities for innovation, creativity, and flexibility. You will experience a shift in the definition of what a workplace is, and you will see the extent to which we are making the work environment more comfortable for both public officers and our clients, the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Minister Sipasad Bechan advised the scholars to go with an open mind, set personal goals, and excel wherever they were placed. For 2013, approximately 400 scholars are expected to return to this country, having completed their various programs. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Meanwhile, participants of the Ministry of Public Administration's Professional Development Program are being urged to take the training received back into their workplace in the move to transform the public sector. This was a message the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry shared as the first of this training came to a close.
In the move to transform the public service sector under the Gold to Diamond project, several members within this sector received training as part of the PDP Professional Development Program. 2013's Cohort 1 and 2 closed off their training and presenting what they have learned and will take back to their various ministries. Permanent Secretary of the Public Administration Ministry, Gillian McIntyre, says this training is part of the modernizing process within the public sector.
In the public service, we are still dealing with an institution that is largely structured as it was in 1962, in terms of jobs and in terms of job families, maybe not so much in terms of numbers. There is an urgent need to modernize the public service so that it can deliver 21st century needs which are vital to each and every one of you. Whether you continue to work in the public service or not, it impacts upon each of us on our daily lives. It can be a catalyst for the further development of our country.
Under the PDP, which is hosted by the Government Human Resources Services Limited, persons were afforded the opportunity to strengthen their personal competencies and improve skills through its individual development plans, IDPs. Some of the participants expressed their thanks for the opportunity and how they saw it making an impact on their careers.
In terms of communicating with impact, she gave me the opportunity to tutor the courses that she taught, which was 3 courses. And I moved from 1 hour per week to 5 hours per week in tutoring. Based on that interaction, I more or less developed. And based on the feedback that I got from the students that I tutored, as of 2 weeks ago, I was promoted, so I lecture now. I started last week with a class of over 250 students. Additionally, in terms of publication, I am now a co-author with her. So we will be releasing a publication by the end of this year based on bridging the gap between theory and practice within the particular field for students at the University of the West Indies.
What I preferred with the IDP is that it was specific to your needs, what you need to do, and what you are good at, and what your areas for improvement were. And I think this benefited me in terms of learning about myself and individually. I've been to a lot of sessions on different things that you can change, but when you learn about it for yourself and how specific things that you never thought that you may have need improvement in, I think that all in all, that this has been the greatest achievement of the IDP.
However, the PS urged participants to use this as a growth mechanism in their personal development.
Trinidad and Tobago is at that period in history where we, as tiny but multitudinous points of light, can shoot forward as a group to effect the culture change and attitude change necessary to build our professional approach, which of course, little by little, can change the way we do business, impact customer service, and foster a more first world approach to our workplaces. Trinidad and Tobago is at that period in history where we, as tiny but multitudinous points of light, can shoot forward as a group to effect the culture change and attitude change necessary to build our professional approach, which of course, little by little, can change the way we do business, impact customer service, and foster a more first world approach to our workplaces.
The Gold to Diamond initiative began in 2012 when Trinidad and Tobago commemorated its 50th independence anniversary and began its transformation of the public sector with the aim of improving customer service, professional performance, ease of doing business, and global competitiveness. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
When we come back, our sport report. Stay with us. Following Caledonia 8 loss on Wednesday, W Connection was the region's only hope for a place in the quarterfinal of the CONCACAF Champions League. The Savanetta boys faced Panama's Aribe Unido at the Hazley Crawford Stadium on Thursday, and News 4 Sports was there. Wayne Cunningham has the highlights.
With only 1 point from 2 matches in a 3-team group, W Connection needed a win when they faced Aribe Unido of Panama in the CONCACAF Champions League on Thursday at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. Stuart Charles Furvier and his men lost the corresponding fixture in Panama due to some defensive errors and were hopeful for 3 points at home to keep alive their chance of a quarter-final spot. With a 3-0 trouncing of Caledonia AIA by Mexico's Toluca the day before, W was the last hope for a team from the Caribbean to advance to the next stage. That hope received a blow in the 28th minute when Luis Frias rocketed one into the net of Alejandro Figueroa to make it 1-0 Aribe at the end of the half. In the second half, the Savanetta boys continued to surge forward without reward. Unfortunately, it will be the Central Americans going further ahead. Abdile Arroyo scoring in the 61st minute. Connection threw caution to the wind and surged forward, but it was to no avail. This shot from Jamal Clarence, the last sighted goal, as they went down 2-0 to Aribe Unido. Following the match, W Connection coach Stuart Charles Furvier gave his opinion on what is needed for local teams to be competitive in the CONCACAF Champions League.
I think that, the talent is there in the country. We have to work harder at improving professionally, in my opinion. I think the players have to take some more responsibility, because it's easy when things don't go well to blame the coach or blame an administrator, but I think our players need to take a little more responsibility to improve themselves, and I say so because working in the professional league over the years and being an old footballer myself, you have a responsibility as a professional to do whatever you can to add to whatever the program your team is doing, to improve yourself.
The coach was asked if the players were overawed by the magnitude of the tournament.
We have a lot of young players in our team because Stefano is 20 years old, that's Stefano Rissell. Gerald Brito is 21 years old. Hashim 22 years old. And they are our main attackers, but though they are young, Stefano plays for his national team. Brito has been playing in the Pro League for a while, has played for the national team as well at under 23 level, under 20 level. So I still feel at the CONCACAF level they should be doing better, in my opinion, I still feel so. I believe, I personally, I just believe that the players need to have a little more ambition, individually.
W's final group stage match will be in the United States next Wednesday versus the Houston Dynamo. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
News 4 continues after the break. Residents of Caroni Central gathered for a one-day symposium on land issues. Addressing the residents was Minister of the People and Social Development, Dr. the Honourable Glen Ramadasing, who told the residents that land acquisition is very critical and every citizen of this country has some right to live and reside in Trinidad and Tobago.
Speaking to residents of Caroni Central on issues relating to land, Dr. Glen Ramadasing told the gathering that there are certain types of right that various institutions recognize to land ownership. He adds that he intends to put Caroni Central on a roadmap so that everyone can have a distinct legal title and right to the land they occupy.
The bank only give you a loan if you can prove that you don't need it. First of all, you have to show them how much money you have, that you don't need the loan, and then they give you the loan. It is said that sometimes the bank give you an umbrella when the sun is shining, and they take it away when the rain begins to fall. So, but the point I'm making is that there are certain types of right that certain institutions recognize. The state, the court of law, different people will be at different stages and phases. And therefore, some may run faster than others. Some may be more easily resolved than others. But I do not want you to lose heart. What I want you is to show that commonality of interest.
The minister gave the residents this advice to better help solve the issue and to help point the way forward.
Let the problem be with the state agency or with a government department. Let it not be among ourselves. Too often, because one person is quibbling for an acre more or a lot more, everyone suffers. The days for that type of thing has to come to an end. Let us look at the bigger picture.
In what can only be described as an extensive undertaking by the government of Trinidad and Tobago to empower its citizens, the minister is adamant that everyone in Caroni Central in different communities will have a stronger title to land than when they started 3 years ago.
The state agencies are here. The minister is going to come back here in 2 weeks' time to monitor and evaluate what work had been done from today. I have asked all the different communities to send 5 representatives here. Some have done that. We've called all of them. They knew the 18th. I kept saying that everywhere I went.
The symposium sought to satisfy the demand of the landless by providing residential plots at an affordable price and develop land settlement areas. In keeping with the policy of the government of Trinidad and Tobago to pursue this, the minister is ensuring that his government will fulfill the basic and fundamental right of citizens to shelter and is mandated to create new vacant lots for residential development within already identified state parcels. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.